Hey everybody, I'm CJ, and what I want you to do right now is just cast your mind back to Milo Manara's Spider-Man, Spider-Woman #1 cover. You guys remember that? You got Spider-Woman, Jessica Drew. She's in this kind of provocative pose, and the kerfluffle that emerged out of that defies words. People were criticizing it, people were lambasting it. People, they SJWs really don't human very well, which also means they really don't humor very well. So, what an SJW finds funny, or what they think is a decent attempt at a witty and incisive parody or satire or something like that, usually is pretty lame. But there were attempts at making parodies of Manara's Spider-Woman #1 cover. You guys remember all that? And just it was basically a Category 3 shitstorm that erupted when that comic book hit the market. Now, look at this. Milo Manara's controversial Spider-Woman cover just sold for over $37,000. Guys, it's really no exaggeration to say that the butthurt that is going on right now at CBR.com over this is truly a thing to behold. The writer of this article, who I'm not going to advertise for, he he does go out of his way to kind of bury his anger and his resentment, his disappointment, and just the general butthurt that's going on right with the sale of the original art for this cover. But if you know anything at all about SJWs, I think by now you probably can guess how happy they are that this. I don't know if this is necessarily record setting in terms of original art, because methinks the original art for The Dark Knight Returns or Daredevil #181 or any of a number of other different comics, those things could fetch a pretty penny, and probably more than what we're seeing with the Milo Manara Spider-Woman #1 cover. But nevertheless, the just the resentment of this thing going for, again, over $37,000. And I didn't want to dwell too much on Twitter and see what because I can kind of guess what the reactions are going to be. But the the reaction the reaction here on CBR.com, it's actually pretty muted. Like I say, the writer of this article, he is really making an effort, a really good effort, I might add. But he's really making an effort to hide his anger and his disgust and his resentment, and how dare anybody pay this kind of money for. And whereas on Twitter, they are not even trying to conceal how pissed off they are. And I don't know, maybe you could file this under Own the Libs or something. I never thought that was all that funny a meme myself, but boy, the SJWs really do hate that whole Own the Libs meme. And so I guess in the vocabulary of own the libs, it's just been a lot of fun watching SJWs lose their shit over this on Twitter. So anyway, but to actually get into the article, the writer says Milo Manara's controversial 2014 cover for Spider-Woman #1 sold for over $37,000 after being put up for auction in late September. The cover was auctioned off at Heritage Auctions' European Comic Art event between October the 3rd and October the 4th. The price of the item more than doubled since CBR first noted the auction, going from $15,500 to $37,500. The cover was criticized upon its release by comic-themed sites and general media for its sexualization of Jessica Drew. Marvel still published the cover, but moved the title of the series to the top of the page, covering the most offensive aspect of the drawing. So in English, you move this away from SJW speak and just move it over to English. This guy is so pissed off he can't even see straight right now. That's what's going on here. He's trying to He's trying to downplay it a little bit. He doesn't want you to know that tears fill his eyes as he writes this article. But come on, guys, the cover was criticized upon its release. Jeez, this guy is just so butt blasted. So anyway, and then from there, you get a lot of people who are, in effect, they are canceling the, well, not a bunch of people. Tom Brevoort, really, SJW par excellence. Tom Brevoort basically, I don't know, it's almost like this is almost like a preemptive surrender or something like that. Not even once does he say, well, we do give our artists a fair amount of latitude to draw things the way that they think is best. Or he doesn't use the excuse that variant cover, because I haven't checked, but I'm pretty sure there were at least a few variant covers for Spider-Woman #1, and perhaps you could track one of those down if the Manara art offends you. He doesn't say that. He doesn't say anything. He basically just preemptively rolls over on his belly and hopes that the SJW horde will show him something akin to mercy, which, if ever there was a fool's errand, well, there you go. Although I guess being as this happened back in 2014, maybe it just wasn't as commonly known how unforgiving SJW lynch mobs really are. But in any case, other people tried to offer a little bit more sort of measured explanation of what happened. The I guess this guy's an agent or some kind of a representative or something like that for the auction house. He says, whether you like it or not, and clearly many did not, this image is now part of comics lore and pop culture, which is, it's almost like that's a non-defense defense. It's, I don't know, I guess it would be like some really far left, some really SJWE, progressive type of guy saying, well, it's not that or rather, it's not that I agree with Stalin, but he had a point on a few things whenever he said fucking blah, 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 blah. And that's basically what we're seeing here. It's like the non-defense defense where you point out the fact that there was something, there was some kind of outrage and pandemonium. And I mean, let's just call a spade a spade. We're talking about SJWs here. This was just plain old hysteria. And he's basically saying, yes, the SJWs, they did go into their trademark histrionics and crying and literally shaking trademark and all that. But he basically says this thing has a place now in comic book publishing history. It may be a footnote, but it is an important footnote. It's the non-defense defense. And then, of course, there was Manara himself. He says, by reading on the internet, I saw that the criticisms have two different reasons. A is the side erotic and sexy. The other is the anatomic error. Now, on the incompetence in the drawing, I don't know what to say. Let's say that I try to do my best for 40 years. Nobody's perfect and I can make mistakes. Simply, I am a professional, then I do my best. And again, this is the non-defense defense. He basically says, well, I drew it, so tough shit. And can you just imagine how butt blasted the writer of this article had to have been as he wrote this? All of this. $37,500. And this guy has to sit here and bring up not every single bit of controversy, but really lean in to the controversy and the outrage and the anger and all that stuff, hopefully to draw your attention to how inappropriate this cover is, and hopefully shift your attention away from $37,500. I mean, holy fuck, that's a lot of money. So all of this is a long way of saying this is even this is kind of cropped, but this is one of the best examples that I could find for the Manara cover. Basically, a longer, taller version of this cover sold for $37,500. Now, guys, ask yourself, can you believe that? Well, I can't speak for any of the rest of you, but for me, yes, I can absolutely believe that. Now take a look at Squirrel Girl #1. How much do you think the original art for that cover is going to go for? I don't know, but I'm thinking it's going to be a lot closer to $0 than it will be to $37,500. So much for avoiding the male gaze, I guess. Anyway, so that's that. Please comment, like, subscribe, and share. Doing those things really helps me out. Also, I'm on Twitter at Cole Loves Comics.